What is your best teenage frick-up story? Story 1. Playing around with realistic-looking BB guns in the middle of the night in an elementary school that's 2 blocks away from a police station. Story 2. Played impromptu baseball in school and busted a girl's face with a solid oak coat rack. Then she asked me to prom and I said no because, busted face. Not my finest moment. Story 3. So me, my brother, and our friend decided to make a sparkler bomb, about 100 sparklers all scraped off into a cup which we'd then light on fire with a sort of fuse. We had everything good and ready to go, then just whilst lighting it, one of the sparks managed to jump from our crappy fuse into the bomb immediately after my mate lit it, causing the whole thing to violently explode right in his face. We had to then carry him from the relatively dodgy storm drain nearby home to the house and chuck him in the pool. This was about the time that we realized his face was starting to peel off and tentatively decided to wake up the parents. Fireworks are dangerous enough without kids who don't know what the hell they're doing messing with them like that. They are explosives, people, so treat them like it. Story 4. We have a 2-story foyer when you walk into the front door of my parents' house, so there is a balcony on the 2nd floor, which is basically the hallway. One night I peeled off that balcony blackout drunk while my parents were in the next room watching TV. Yeah, that went well. Story 5. When I was about 12, I managed to rack up a $2,000 phone bill using my grandmother's emergency cell phone and Diablo 2. LOD. Not my best day when that bill came in. My father called every single number on the bill, there weren't that many, and asked them if they knew that I wasn't supposed to use this phone. I have a friend who went abroad for a month and didn't turn off roaming on his smartphone, who came home to a $14,000 bill. Story 6. My stepdad had just finished putting a 350 into a 72 FJ40 Land Cruiser, and while home alone one day, I got the brilliant idea to take it for a joyride. I had a dirt bike and had been given the privilege of driving when we went hunting occasionally. Here I am, 14 years old, cruising around in this beast. What else would I do? I picked up some friends and went to the sand pits to do some wheelings. After about 5 minutes of wrapping the tech and forgetting to shift once or twice on a brand new engine, there was a funny colored smoke coming from the tailpipe, and the engine sounded really bad, so I thought it was probably time to go home. With the house on the hill in sight, I came up to a stoplight and heard the most terrifying sound as the engine seized. I tried to start it and the starter solenoid would kick in, but the engine was indeed seized. With panic starting to set in, I collected enough funds from my friends to have the defeated beast dragged the 1 mile to put it in its resting place. I had the great idea to put it back where it was, clean it up, and play it off like nothing happened. Just as the tow driver was unhooking the Jeep, my stepdad pulled into the driveway. He looked at me, looked at the Jeep. As I started to say something, he told me to shut up and don't talk to him or he might kill me. The week after the incident, I decided to get a job to pay him back. 2 weeks before my 16th birthday, I walked up to my stepdad and handed him a check that was more than enough to buy a new engine, but meant I would have no car when I was old enough to drive. I said, I'm truly sorry for what I did. He hadn't spoken to me since the incident aside from an excuse me or can you pass that, general stranger chat. He had the Jeep fixed about 3 months after I killed it. He turned from his usual ex-drill instructor hard-butt self to a sobbing dad and gave me an hour hug. At least it seemed like it. I came home from school on my 16th birthday and was doing my homework when my stepdad asked me to come out and help with get something out of the garage. There was a 53 split-window bug in the driveway and he handed me the keys. I had no words and broke down into a sobbing mess. This man, who I had broken every trust known to man, took the check I had given to repay my wrongdoings and bought me a car. A year later, he found out my mom was cheating on him and they split up. He truly was a great man, passed away 2 years ago, and that was one incident of many that molded me into the responsible adult I am today. I think it really says a lot about someone's character when they know they've done something wrong and voluntarily own up to it. Were I your stepdad, I think I'd lead in the same way in that situation. I'm going to say it's a little harsh for him not to talk to you for 1 to 2 years because of that, but it sounded like it worked out really well in the end. Good on you for doing the right thing. Sounds like you two were all right. Story 7. Threw a match into a box of Black Cat fireworks while standing in a dry grass field under heavy power lines. Big explosions. Ooh, ah, small grass fire. Okay, start stomping. Big grass fire. Not okay. Stomp more. Wind picks up. Wall of flames. Run. Fire burns field. Power lines melt. I hide under my bed. Fire department, police, ambulance, power company, blackout for 3 days during the summer. No air conditioning means hot, angry people fight each other. Story 8. Came home blackout drunk with vomit in my pockets. Woke my parents up falling into things. When they came out to see what was going on, I was peeing on the living room floor. Story 9. Me and some friends snuck into our rival high school and I took a gargantuan crap in their gymnastics foam pit. We got caught, no legal trouble, but we all got 60 days of alternative school and had to pay the school $4,500. I worked an entire summer getting 40 hours a week at $11 an hour and didn't see a dime. Most expensive crap ever. Fans of this channel know my stance on pooping where you shouldn't. Frankly, I'm glad to hear about a poopatrator brought to justice. Story 10. My brother was a frick-up. He went to jail for H possession over the summer. My dad agreed to bail him out, but he had to stay in the house the entire time until his court case. My dad helped him out with everything over that time. Got him new clothes, took him to the doctors and dentists, even offered to take him out to the outpatient rehab in the next town over. One day after my dad took him to the dentist, had to pay out of pocket because he was 19, my brother came home, not a single thank you for anything. He snuck out of the house when my dad wasn't looking. My dad was peed, so he locked him out and said he was done with him. 4 days later, my father died of a heart attack. I try not to blame my brother, but he was responsible for 90% of his stress. Story 11. Threw a party when I was 13 with my best friend who was 16 and my sister who was 15. My best friend invited a couple of her friends from school who invited a couple really sketchy dudes. They stole a computer from a national lab that my best friend's dad worked for, as well as a couple $100 and 2 Razr cell phones when they first came out. We tried to hide it for a couple of days to get the crap back ourselves, but we couldn't. The cops had to be called because of the computer. My mom was peed, so was my best friend's dad, obviously. We had to go sit with the cops and tell them what had happened, and they gave us a very stern talk. It was awful for a good 3 months. None of our parents trusted us, and my mom put us on pocket time, which my mom does instead of grounding. Basically, if we want to do anything, that's fine, but she is going to do exactly what we're doing. If we want to go to the mall to walk around, she's there hanging out. If we want to go eat somewhere, she's there hanging out. Basically, you just can't escape her. If she couldn't go, she would send another adult, usually it was this guy who was living with us at the time, to hang out with us. In the end, everyone got over it and forgave us for being stupid teenagers. None of us have lied to our parents since, though, so I guess something good came out of it. I find your mom's choice of punishment to be rather clever. Story 12. My stepmom inherited a genuine Tiffany lamp from the 1880s or so. She put it in a cardboard box wrapped in blankets and put it under our ping pong table. I wanted to move the ping pong table up against the wall to play solo off the backboard, or whatever you call it, so as I moved the table, the box was in the way, so I shoved it with my foot. I heard glass break and thought little of it. I figured it was a light bulb or something cheap. We did not have anything nice in our house, so breaking something wasn't all that upsetting. Later that day, in passing, I told my dad I broke something. He said, "What was it?" "I don't know," I replied. "Something glass inside that blanket box under the ping pong table." His face went white. He walked away and went upstairs to check and then told my stepmom. I heard her yell, "What?" Later that night, he told me what it was that I broke. The lamp is worth tens of thousands. It had been passed down through the generations of women on her side to end up in her hands. She had it for 24 hours before one of her 5 boys had broken it. She hardly stopped crying for 2 days. 100 years, no problem. 24 hours with me and it's destroyed. I mean, that's not a really good way of storing centuries-old fragile stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry, even if she just got it, at the very least store it better and tell people to watch out for it. Don't just put it under a ping pong table and think, that should be fine. Sorry, that's on your stepmom. Story 13. When I was 14, I didn't tell my parents about an early release school day and instead went to the movies with a guy. At the movie theater, we were making out heavily when suddenly someone tapped his shoulder. It was one of the theater workers telling us to exit the movie. As soon as we got out, mall security was waiting for us and took us to a containment area in the mall. They accused me of giving him a BJ in the theater, which I never had done at that point, and threatened to charge us with public indecency. Even though we denied it, they still called our parents and had them pick us up. Needless to say, I was grounded for a long time. Story 14. I TP'd someone's house with some friends. The cops came, my friends scattered. I stupidly tried to hide behind a bush. Someone saw my body lying still behind the bush. I guess it looked like I was a dead body. This guy called the cops back because they thought they had stumbled upon a murder scene. After 20 more minutes of lying still, scared because this guy had his headlights trained on me, the cops came and found I was alive after giving me a light kick. They were cool and gave me a ride home. Story 15. When I was 16, I used to open beer bottles with my teeth all the time. I thought I just had an incredibly strong mouth because I used to it and never had any issues. Then one day I'm at my friend's house and there is a girl who I'm absolutely in love with. Acting really cool, I went to open her bottle with my teeth. 5 chipped teeth and a massive dentist bill later, I regret not just going downstairs for a bottle opener. Never did anything with her either. Younger folks, let me tell you some of the best advice I can give you. Take care of your teeth. You need to use them your whole life, and if you ruin them, it sucks. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 16. I was 14 years old and had recently discovered a little activity we called power boxing, shutting off the power to a home. I thought it would be real funny to sneak into the yard of my neighbors and shut off their power while I waited in the bushes to watch them coming out trying to figure out what happened. So I shut off the power and lay in waiting. Nothing. I figured they must already be asleep, so I went home feeling let down that my stupid prank didn't create any ruckus at all. A week later, that family came home from a vacation to find that their power had been shut off. Their newly landscaped yard had been killed off by the 100+ degree Fahrenheit heat, many trees died, and the grass was yellow/brown, costing thousands to replace. The ice maker in their freezer also melted and spilled gallons of water onto their nice hardwood floors, warping the wood and permanently damaging the flooring. They also had a large industrial-sized freezer in their garage full of frozen meat, more specifically salmon from their annual Alaska fishing trip. All of it had gone rotten and stunk to high heavens. My mom caught wind of our neighbor's misfortune and immediately sensed her troublemaker son had something to do with it. She confronted me on the issue, I confessed, and approached the neighbors to confess my misdeeds. He was really cool and told me that confessing must have been really hard and that if I helped with yard work during the summer, he would forgive me. Story 17. I once got drunk at a party and told my crush all my niche adult entertainment tastes, and then asked her out to prom using the DJ's microphone. Good times, man. Good times. The kind of cringe only teen years can produce. Story 18. I have a couple of these. 8th grade, my grades start going from awesome to crap that year. So naturally, I scanned my report card, opened it in MS Paint, and changed the grades on it using copy and paste on MS Paint. This was like 15 years ago, but still, what the frick was I thinking? It was pathetic, and I can't believe I wasn't caught the instant I gave the fake to my mother. A few weeks later, I did it for a friend, and his mom called my mom. That was a crappy summer. 9th grade. I was at this Cottonmouth Kings concert, embarrassing, and this kid that was with my group of friends brought a big bag of mushrooms. They had a pizza cart right on the floor of the show. So naturally, we thought like 2 slices between the 5 of us and dumped the shrooms all over them. It was my first time tripping. I had no idea what I was doing. I was high as balls and spent the rest of the show on the smoker's patio watching my friend puke for like an hour. The concert ended and my mom came to pick us all up. She could instantly tell we were trashed and must have thought it was hilarious. Just to mess with me and my friends, my mom parked the car in a grocery store parking lot and sent 5 kids into the store with $50 and a list of stuff we had to get. My friends and I spent the next half an hour in a grocery store absolutely freaking out, looking like idiots, and buying the wrong stuff. Worst mushroom trip ever. I was a terrible kid and my mom handled it to the best of her capability. I love that woman. Holy crap, your mom is amazing. Yeah, mushrooms can give you a case of the pukies if you've got a sensitive stomach, or they'll just make you giggle a lot and yell at Christmas light displays in your neighborhood. I mean, I assume, not like I would do them. Story 19. At the doctor, age 11 or so. When the doctor left, I pumped the blood pressure meter as high as it would go because it was awesome. It popped. Mercury everywhere. Hazmat team called in, building shut down. My father did something stupid like this when he was younger too. Was trying to examine an old school glass mercury holding thermometer. Glass broke and mercury got under the fingernail and into the skin of one of his thumbs. It's permanently swollen to this day and has slightly impaired function, 50 years later. Story 20. My brother and his friends decided it would be fun to shoot a propane tank wrapped in a gasoline-soaked towel. Which was fine because they decided the middle of a barren cow pasture was the place to do it, and it is. Bang, boom, wow, everyone was happy and satisfied. Except for Tim, who decided it would be fun to show some of his friends. Now, Tim was only 14 at the time and loved weed. Tim decided to replicate fun times in the backyard of his parents' house, which happened to be a part of a forest. He and his friends set up the propane tank, bang, boom, wow. Now it's time to go inside and take some bong rips. They come back outside to a raging fire. Tim grabs a hose. The fire department eventually gets called for what ended up being a 150-plus acre forest fire. Tim's parents are held liable and now have to pay a fine. Luckily, no one died and Tim's parents' house didn't burn down. Story 21. I once went to a party with a whole bottle of Smirnoff, which I smuggled in as a bottle of water. I then proceeded to drink half the bottle, told the entire freaking world that I was in love with the girl I was crushing on, tried to kiss her, and accidentally licked on the nose. After these shenanigans, I was kicked out of the party and my brother picked me up. I don't remember anything else, but apparently I was taken to one of my brother's friend's house and called him by the wrong name all night. I don't like vodka anymore. Story 22. A night of epic partying at my parents' house when they were out of town. At least 50 people, all of them wasted and doing unspeakable things, and some idiot videotaped the whole thing. After cleaning everything up and restoring the house to normal, I thought I had gotten away with it scot-free. About 2 days later, my mom calls me downstairs because my little brother had put one of his movies in the VHS player. It was the tape of the party, which included a couple doing it in my parents' bed, a few people smoking joints in the kitchen and using the good crystal to play quarters. The couple in my parents' bed had dressed up in my little brother's Viking costume from Halloween, just to add that final touch of the debauchery. And to think, nowadays everyone has access to equipment to record parties like this. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm glad I'm too old to where parties I was at weren't recorded. Story 23. My math teacher in my junior year kept failing my test because I wouldn't show work. I was told that unless I got a 92% in my final test, I would be kicked out of school, private school. She handed us the final and Scantron form and told me I didn't have to show work because she knew I was going to fail. I handed in the test and said something to the effect of, "I hope tragedy falls upon you." 2 days later, her husband, who owned multiple farms, was decapitated by his workers. I got a 96%. I still feel bad. Story 24. My friend at the time fricked my older brother. She would ask if she could spend the night, say she was going to get a drink of water, and frick my brother. She's still a C-face. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.